Welcome to the Naked Proverbs podcast, where we unclothe the truth about Black love, family, and marriage. My name is Nik Scott, one of your hosts. And as always, I am here with my husband.
What's going on? It's your boy Rich, and today we're going to talk about making my plate.
Your plate.
My plate.
Okay. At the beginning of every episode, we have to remind our listeners that we are not trained, licensed, or professional counselors or therapists. We've been married for a long time and we've gone through quite a bit of stuff. And we use Naked Proverbs as our platform to share our stories, our advice, and our experience. If you haven't already, make sure that you're following the Naked Proverbs on whatever podcasting platform you listen on. And if you like what you hear, stop by iTunes and give the Naked Proverbs a 5-star rating.
Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank you for sharing episodes. Thank you for giving us 5-star ratings. Thank you. We truly appreciate your support. Do you ever feel like there's just not enough room? Not enough hot water? Not enough. Men, I'm talking to you. I'm talking about when you choose to jump in the shower with your spouse and share an intimate moment of showering together. Yet you find yourself standing in the cold with no hot water.
First of all, I just want to point out that you said when you choose to get in the shower with your wife. That's the first problem, is that if you're feeling like you aren't getting enough warm water, maybe it's because you jumped in my shower. I got in the shower first. So what makes you think that you can jump in my shower and take it over?
I'm not trying to take it over. I'm just trying to get in there, get my booty clean while sharing some time with you. We only have so much time in a day, and everybody's pulling on our time, asking for it. So I'm just trying to find creative ways to have a little more time with you. And unfortunately, I am coming to the realization that shower time is not the right time because you don't like to share the shower. Your water is way too hot, like scalding hot, like fourth degree burns, fifth degree black belt burns.
It ain't that hot.
Yes, it's hot. And then ultimately, I find myself just standing there, cold, no shower water, and you just soaking up all the water. What's up with that?
First of all, second of all, third of all, fourth of all, you jumping in my shower. And if I recall correctly, when we were very first married, very first married, I believe that I even set the parameters and the standards that I didn't like taking a shower with people because I feel like that is a
Who you
time
been
for
taking showers with? People. We ain't talking about no people shower. We talking about shower with me. Wait a minute. What you talking about? I didn't like taking showers with people. You at the gym? What you talking about? What you mean?
Anyway, like I was saying, I didn't like sharing the shower, and it was years actually before we actually started taking showers together because I didn't like sharing that space. I do like my water much warmer than you like your water. You
I
like
use the soap to get the filth and the stank off. You use hot water. You just be like, I don't need no soap. Just give me this boiling water. Pour it over me. I'll be clean.
the water's not that hot. The
Mm,
water that you shower in is very cold.
mm.
And let's be clear, neither one of us are the same size that we were when we first got married.
What's that got to do with anything?
We take up more space now.
We or you?
First of all, I'm actually smaller now than when we got married. So let's
What?
just get that. Yes. And I done had 2 babies and everything else.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
I just trying to make sure I understand what you said.
You heard me.
I was a little confused.
I said that I'm smaller now than I was when we got married.
That could be true.
It is true. It is true. So when we're talking about being in a space, it's not like we have one of these huge spa-like showers. And I do enjoy taking a shower with you. I enjoy watching you lather up and how the soap just
Just be
looks.
glistening all off my body.
Yeah, I do.
Well, good.
I like that.
Because for a second here, I thought you was trying to tell me you didn't want to take no more showers with me. You was like, you bigger, and I don't never like taking showers with people. I was a little confused. I was like, I thought this was a moment that we enjoyed. I know I enjoyed looking at you. I mean, taking a shower with you.
Looking at me or taking a shower?
Both.
Okay,
I really enjoy just watching the soap glistening on your body.
good. That's awesome. I think it is a great moment for us to continue to connect.
You wash my back.
I can.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, of course I'll wash your back.
Yeah.
But what I don't want is for you to invade my space.
Well, wait a minute. How can I take a shower with you and not invade our space?
Okay, so
I mean, your space.
last night when I was in the shower and you came up and you were done with your shower and you just stood there at the end of the tub while I'm completing my bathing time and you're looking at me talking about, "Oh, it's so cold. I can't I'm just so cold." But you were done with your shower and I was still bathing and I'm like, "Well, what
But
do you want me to do?"
I wasn't done watching you. So you could have easily let me have the warm water while you lathered up with some soap. But instead, you wanted me to stand in the cold to get my peek on. I'm trying to peek at you, girl. The great debate in the black household. Should you make it? Should you not? Is it a sense of entitlement? Why can't this grown man get up and make his own plate? There's so many questions that must be answered.
My man doesn't have to make his plate.
I sure don't.
And it's been that way for a long time. I don't remember if I used to make your plate when we were first married.
You have always made my plate.
Really?
And I don't know exactly when I realized it, but a lot of my life as an adult, I look at my childhood and I base, well, what things are similar or what things are different, what things are like, whoa, I don't ever saw that happen, or what things are pretty, like I said, just the norm.
Mhm.
And for me growing up, my grandmother, I don't remember if my grandmother ever actually made my grandfather's plate. I think he made her plate,
Ooh, now
kind of like he does now.
isn't that an interesting twist in this conversation?
My grandfather is an amazing man.
He is.
If I could just be half of him, I'd be pretty cool. My mom, on the other hand, has always made my dad's plate.
I don't know if I've ever noticed that.
Yes.
Wow. So I have some qualities like your mama.
Girl, you got a lot of qualities like my mama.
Wow.
So, not so much now that they're older, what I mean? And he tries to do more for her, I
Mhm.
think, just because, I mean, she deserves it. But growing up, my mom always made my dad's plate, then she would make our plates, and then she would make her plate.
Mhm.
And if we were even if we were having like sit down around the table dinners, she started with always making my dad's plate.
Yeah, I have to say in my family, my mother was the kind of woman that catered and served to her men no matter what. So she was definitely a plate maker.
She made my plate before.
Yeah, my mom is she's
That's my
definite
girl.
yeah.
Don't play now.
She was definitely a plate maker and that might be where I picked it up from. I don't ever explicitly remember and seeing like my grandmother and other women in my family because I'm on my maternal side, we are basically all women up until this new generation. We have quite a few boys, or quite a few, me and my cousins, not me, but my cousins have had sons. But I don't recall seeing them making plates, my aunts and things like that. But it's not an uncommon thing in my family for plates to be made. So yeah, I make your plate.
You do. And I am very appreciative of it. And because I grew up in an environment where that's the norm, because I would say even my uncles, I have all uncles, and most of them were single when I was younger. And I remember their different women that they were dating and then some that they married. If they weren't women that made plates, when they came around our family, it
Mhm.
became something they did
Hmm.
because they felt out of place. Because literally every man would be sitting watching football or TV or doing whatever they're doing. Some of them are on the grill cooking or whatever. But ultimately, the wives would normally make the plates. And I remember one of my aunts, she didn't when she first came around. Like she
Mhm.
was like, I don't do that." And it wasn't that anybody put any pressure on her or said, hey, you should be doing this. It was just one of those things where when in Rome, I think she looked around and noticed that she was the only one that was sitting down eating. And, the rest of the women were making their husbands, boyfriends, whatever plates. And then she kind of just jumped on board. And I don't really know what her reasoning behind it was, but yeah.
This debate is interesting to me because I do believe that it is something that is common only in the Black community. Like, why do Black women have such a big problem making their man's plate? Like, Black Twitter will go off on this topic. And because it is the holiday season, it's something I think that we should be talking about. But for me, it's like I make my husband's plate because I believe that it's another way for me to show how much I appreciate what he does for me. I told you recently, like, I don't mind treating you like a king. So I don't mind making your plate, and I don't care who's around. I don't care who's looking sideways, side eyes, or whatever. You are my man, and it is my job to take care of you, even if it's something as simple as making your plate.
It's not black women don't. I think that it's more of a generational thing. If you look at certain generations of women, that's just what they do. We watched that clip of Blackish,
Mhm.
and the mother, I don't know, grandmother,
Marla Gibbs.
Marla Gibbs,
Mhm.
made the comment about her generation. And when she was saying it in Blackish, I could see my mother, I could see my grandmother saying the exact same thing. And to kind of sum up what she said was, I make my husband's plate because he goes out into a world that hates him, treats him like he's less than a man. And it's the least I can do when he comes home to try to make him know I love you. Somebody loves you. You do have worth. You do matter. And I don't know that I've ever had anybody explain it that way, but I could totally see the women in my family doing it because of that, because they know what their husbands are going through every single day. And that doesn't mean that our black women aren't going through these same types of struggles in the workforce or out in America. And, I never want to make it seem like, well, this is being done because men struggle with so many things and women, their lives are so easy. But I think that there's some history behind that that makes sense.
I don't think in a relationship, and especially in a marriage, there should be this tit for tat, right? Well, I struggle too. I face stuff too. Okay, we know that. We all struggle as a Black community in this world, in this country, the United States of America, that doesn't want us here. Like, we all face things every single day. We all have these battles that we face. So for me, it's not about, well, I'm not going to make his plate because he never makes my plate. So what? There's things that he does for you that you never do for him. I don't know. I just think in the relationship, there should be some type of balance and reciprocity, right? And it doesn't have to be equal for equal.
And I would agree. I mean, because even when I was kind of reading and thinking about this topic, doing some research, and I mean, you have very different views. You have people that are like, oh my God, I can't believe that this is still going on. And then there are people that are like, oh my God, I can't believe you don't do it. And reality is, like you said, there are things that husbands or I do for my wife or husbands do for their wives that wives never think about, and it never comes to the forefront. 99% of the time, if we as a family are going somewhere, I drive. But that's not this huge, like, oh my God, I can't believe he drives you everywhere. You're capable of driving. You're not Miss Daisy, right?
Right.
But I don't have a problem with it, and I feel like it's a great opportunity for me to serve you, to do something to show you that I care. And so to me, making a plate, I feel like it's kind of in that same category
Yep.
of, am I capable? Of course I'm capable. And do I sometimes? Yes, I do.
Yep.
But it's nice when my wife, if we're out at a gathering or we're somewhere and she looks at me and says, "You want me to make your plate, babe?" And sometimes I'm like, "Yes." Sometimes I'm like, "No." I appreciate it and I like it. And especially when I'm sitting there and all my boys, their wives don't even care. You married the wrong woman. I'm just playing.
That yeah,
No,
that's
I'm not.
and I never even though people look at me crazy when I make your plate, men and women, they will look at me like, "Did she just make his plate?" And then I'll be looking like, "Yes, she did." But I never look at people who don't make their man's plate. I don't look at them any kind of way. Because this is to me, it's a service that I'm providing for you. Like, it is my job to be your partner in this. And that's one thing that I do to help you. Now, there is one time we were at a gathering, and I don't know if you remembered this. It was at some friends, some Jack and Jill friends we had back in the day. And we were at their house. I don't remember if it was a fight party or what it was, but all of the men were downstairs and all the women were upstairs. And it was time to eat. And you had told all of these men, "Watch, she about to bring my plate down here." And I didn't know this until I got downstairs with your plate, and all the men were like, "Oh, dog, what?" And I was like, "What the heck is going on?" And then later on, you tell me, "Yeah, I told them that you was about to make my plate." And I was sitting there like,
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. You know how you always tell me it's not what you say, it's how you say it?
"Uh-huh,
The way you're making this sound
uh-huh."
is horrible. And that is not really what happened.
Okay, well, I wasn't there, but this is
Right.
okay, so
Like
clear it up.
even the inflections and the spaces where you made it sound like I was like, she gonna make my plate. Watch this, dog.
You probably
No,
did.
that is not me, and that's not how it went down. What happened? Because at first I was like, what is she talking about? But now I
I
remember.
know you remember.
And what happened was everybody was like, "Well, are you going to go make plates?" And I was like, "My wife will probably bring me my plate." And that's legit what I said because at this point, it has been something that you've done for so long.
Mhm,
And if we're in different rooms, you don't ask me that, do you want me to make your plate? And I mean, you still don't, even if we're in the same room sometimes,
mhm,
but every
mhm,
now and then you do. But it was more of, I knew my wife. I know that she was going to make me a plate. And so I didn't get up off the couch. I was still watching the game or the fight or whatever it was. And they were all like, whatever. So then, of course, none of them got up to make plates because they wanted to see if I was wrong. They wanted to see, is his wife really going to make him a plate? Does he really know his wife like that? My wife don't make. So ultimately, when you came down, it wasn't about what I said. It was about like, damn, y'all's marriage is tight.
okay.
It was more of, honestly, because you left and then we talked about it some
Yep,
more.
as I went back upstairs.
They were jealous and they were like, "Man, my wife don't ever make my plate. Man, like, what did you do?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? What did I do? Like, I didn't do anything. I love my wife and I treat her like a queen as all the time. And she feels that she wants to treat me like a king. Sorry. Like, I didn't do anything special to know my wife better or to be in this situation. I just knew what was going to happen. So I wanted to kind of clarify because you made it sound like I was sitting down there just bragging, like, I ain't gotta get up. My wife, I got a slave upstairs. No,
No,
that
that
is
is
not
not
how
what
it
I
went down.
said.
That's how you made it
That
sound.
is not how
It's
I made
what
it
you
sound.
said, not or how you said it, not what you said.
Okay, well, thank you for
You're
clarifying, but I
welcome.
have a question.
Of course. What?
Do you feel that other Black men want their wives to make them their plates?
I think that there are times that the answer is yes.
Mhm.
And I think there are times that the answer is no. And I think there are also times that it just really doesn't matter.
Okay.
And I think in that situation where these men chose to look at our marriage through what you did, then
Okay.
it was a great opportunity for me to be able to sit back and say, yep, my marriage is tight. Not because my wife made me a plate, but because we know each other that well. Or because, you know what, she does want to provide in a different way for me.
Mhm.
So in that moment, yeah, I was sitting down there eating my food, my chest out, like, yep, my fine wife walked down here with some food for me and gave it to me. There are other times though that The answer would totally be no. Like when we had little kids and we're trying to make 4 plates, because now our kids are independent, then no, I didn't want you making my plate. And sometimes you did, sometimes you didn't, but it's like I don't want to be just another burden or another kid, or it's like that's not, because like I said in the beginning, I'm more than capable of getting up and making my plate.
Well, I don't mind making your plate, and let's be clear, I do make your plate first. Now, when the girls were little, I would make their plates first, then I would make your plate, and then I would make my plate. And sometimes, if it's a long line and I'm real hungry, I'll make both of our plates at the same time. It didn't matter which order I made the plates, I always make sure that I serve you your food. Even when we're at home and nobody's around, I make your plate.
Hmm.
Our girls have grown up watching me make their dad's plate. And I'm sure that that's going to have some type of impact on whether or not they choose to make their husband's plate.
That's the other thing. Like I said earlier, I think that it's partially generational, but how you are raised will definitely have an impact on what your expectations are when it comes to, does my wife make my plate or not? Should my wife make my plate or not? Because I watched that happen. It wasn't necessarily something I expected when we were dating, or even when I asked you, would you marry me? That's not like on my list of things, the qualities that I needed was a woman that could make my plate, because my mother and grandmother made sure that all the young men in our family are capable of making a plate, cleaning a house, cooking a
Hmm.
meal. Like they were like, you need to know how to do it all yourself. So that wasn't something that I think I factored in, but it's almost like how last week you gave a bonus tip. It's like I got a bonus. Like,
Yeah.
ooh, she also does that. Wow, I didn't even know. Okay, that's cool. Because you know what? I actually do remember the first time you made my plate.
Oh, okay. Can you talk about that? Because
I
I don't.
can. It was in Atlanta, the Thanksgiving that I came to visit you instead of visiting my parents. And that was actually that meal was the day I knew for a fact that I was going to ask you to be my wife. Because up until that point, you had never really cooked for me.
That was Indiana.
Was it Indiana?
Yeah. That was Indiana. The first time I cooked Thanksgiving was in Indiana.
It was just you and I. No, I'm almost positive it was in Atlanta, because your roommate from New York.
From my roommate from New York?
Yep. And
She
I
was
like,
there?
she left because I
Oh.
came to visit. Like I remember the apartment, everything.
So we were living in College Park.
Yep.
That apartment? I
Yes.
cooked?
Yes.
Oh.
You cooked Thanksgiving dinner and you made my plate. And that was the moment that I knew. So I do actually remember the first time you made my plate.
So I guess then the conversation really is, why is it such a big issue in our community around women making their man's plate? I think, and these are just my thoughts and my opinions. I think that for some women they might feel as if it's a subservient position to, like, I'm not your maid, I'm not your mom. He can make his own plate. I don't need to do it. But I would challenge, if that's how you feel, I would challenge you to think about it in a different way. You can think about it like the clip on Blackish. And oh, by the way, I'll post that on our Patreon page for those of you that haven't seen the clip. It's only like 58 seconds or something like that. To think about it in the way that they described in the clip, as a gesture of love or as another way to show respect for your husband, and a gift. It's truly a gift.
And husbands, it's not something you should abuse. It's something you should appreciate. It's something that you should cherish. It's not something you should expect. It's something that you should be very thankful for, because you are capable, we are capable of making our own plate. But remember, it's bigger than just making a plate.
I don't think I have any more thoughts about it.
I don't have any more thoughts. Can you go make me some lunch?
Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Naked Proverbs podcast. We want you to truly have a happy marriage. We want you to continue to thrive in your marriages and indulge in your spouses on a regular basis. Don't forget to follow the Naked Proverbs on whatever podcasting platform you listen to your podcasts on. And we will talk to y'all next week.
Peace.